Hello everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join me today. This is Amit, and I wanted to discuss with you about a business requirement that we had, and this is my attempt how we address that. It's not complete in any sense, but it's a good phase one. So, in our organization, we hire a bunch of talent for the open requirements. I belong to the technical delivery team, and I also actively participate in the technical interviews of the incoming candidates. As you can understand, from getting a new requirement to an eligible candidate being finally offered a job, there are a lot of moving steps. Many teams are involved, mainly sales, recruitment, technical delivery, interviewers, and finally the PMO who offers the job. And keeping all these teams, upstreams and downstreams, in sync is very important so that we find the right candidate for the right job. One thing that changes is the original requirement. And this information many times doesn't trickle down to the requirement team or the technical team, resulting in a mismatch and an ambiguity between the candidate and the requirement for which the job was originally curtailed to. To ensure consistency, there was the need to have a platform in which new requirements can be plugged in by the sales team, and that information travels real time to the recruitment and the interview panel to find the exact fitment. All this, all this while, this was happening on an offline mode, sometimes on Excel sheets, sometimes on mails, and the fallout was that nobody's data was speaking the same language. So we needed, as you see, we needed a robust system, a thread-safe system which correctly catalogs the incoming requests, and the requirements can be modified when underlying customer changes it, and deleted if the requirement is no longer active and we no longer need to source for that requirement. Also, the other important part is who sees what, who are eligible to modify and create requests. So maintaining a level of role in uniqueness was important. With that in mind, I created this requirement management app, which addresses this problem. Let me take you through it. So what I've done is, this is the app which has been developed in .NET Core and WPF. So it's cross-platform, which is good. And what I'm doing, whatever inputs are happening via the tool, so I've made sure that the data validation works here perfectly so that we get clean data. And anytime there is a change, we go ahead and update the original requirement so that it flows perfectly to the to the recruitment team and the interview panel team, so that they know what's changed and how they should tweak their interview process to find the right candidate. And what it does, once this is all done, the data is stored in the database, which is in the cloud. And then finally, it powers up a dashboard, which makes sure that what are the number of open requirements, who is the recruitment team who is working on it, and what is the current status, how many profiles we have submitted. As you can tell, this is only one part of the puzzle. That means we are only taking care of the requirement. The other part, or phase two of this puzzle, would be how are we submitting those profiles who are selected for this requirement. So that would be my phase two, and I'm really looking forward to develop the phase two. As you can see here, my colleague probably is actively looking for 3 hardware engineers with DR RAM interfaces, and the sales team who is supporting him is Himanshu, and there is a guy, and the recruitment team is Wasim is favoring this. I'm just taking these names. These are all fictitious. There is nothing original about it, but I've masked them so that we do not land into compliance issues. So what we have done is that we are showcasing. So as you see, that this is one-stop shop of a Power BI report where we can get who is working on what and what is the current status of it. And this is all being powered by the app. So enough being said about the Power BI report. This is not a demo for a Power BI. This is a demo about the WPF app that has been developed for addressing this business problem. So with that being said, let me just quickly go ahead and fire up my app. So bear with me while I fix the screen. Perfect. So as you can see, this is the complete list of active requirements that we are tracking and we have open at this present point. It does a get and figures out everything. If suppose at this point something has gone out, so one of the requirements is no longer active, so what a salesperson can do is go ahead and delete that requirement. So this Power BI report will fetch the data and then showcase accordingly. That means it is no longer there for us to take a look at. So who does that? I think the only people who can do that is the sales team, who is directly talking to the customers, so that they are aware of all these changes and they make the they are the people who do these changes. So let me quickly show how you can go ahead and delete. So you can go ahead and delete from here, or from here, the choice is yours. So let me just go ahead and delete here. So as you can see, this guy got deleted, and I think I will just go ahead and delete one more just for simplicity's sake. Uh, Here you go, it got deleted. So now now what happens if you go ahead and there is a new requirement comes in. So the sales team or the technical delivery team can go ahead and log a new requirement. As you see, I have tried to make it a little the validation properly, because this is where we lag the most. We do not have clean data to work with, so I wanted to take that ambiguity out of this. I've kept it as text because I wanted to create and see what kind of different requirements are coming in, so that I can create my data repository accordingly. So for example, let's just say that we have got a requirement for SDE3 in California. Number of positions that are required is probably 4. I'm just saying. And what are the primary skills? He probably should have C#, and he should know CI/CD. So I can go and like write anything else, but if I but I've made some checks and balances in place just to make sure that I do not overpopulate and use additional skill sets. So for example, as you can see, this is a specifically formatted text block in which it can only take hexadecimal. So all kinds of data validations are baked in. I've not gone crazy, I've just put the minimum here. And then so another thing is, I'm for the customer name, like who is the end customer who will be evaluating this position, I'm just putting XYZ at this moment. And also I have done all these checks and balances here, XYZ at gmail.com. Defaulting to some of the things so that it doesn't become very input heavy, because nobody wants to key in 20 different things at the start of creating a requirement. So just, and this is a service, this is a sales, so let it be, for example, let be, thank you. And the other way of doing the data validation is, suppose we are the billing rate for this profile is $150. I'm adding a business layer on top of it, so that we get to keep our operating margins and only allow that. So this is all getting calculated internally, and then we are able to do this. So the data, so how the data is working is the UI layer is talking to the model layer, and the model layer is talking to the database layer, and the database layer is finally, and the database repository layer is talking finally to the database, and then making all those updates. So that's how it's working. And it's, I will just give a service contract ID. That's a unique thing, but it's a nullable thing that is not required, but it is only required when you make the general offer. So hopefully I just give a placeholder value. Now what are the additional details? I can give any additional details, like what does this guy need? I'm just giving something like he needs to do this and that, and like all the stuff that is required. And I can also show you that it can take any values. So it's a free form. This is what the technical panel sees to enter to make sure that what they should be interviewing the candidates on, so that they are in line with what the original requirement is and with what the candidate possesses. So this is a placeholder value. This is a placeholder value. I don't want to type anymore. And then this is a software role, and this other software hardware, it's an open close, so I've defaulted these things. And then finally I go ahead and add. So once I add, you see this came in the last. Let me just go ahead and sort it. I will quickly show you. So this is the stuff that we went ahead and showed. So this, as you can see, is a simple data grid which is powering this get information here. And whenever you do an highlight and keep it here, it keeps on keeps all this stuff highlighted. So a lot of animation has gone in to make sure that it is doing its job. But the idea of the tool is to not create reports. The idea of the tool is to do that the CRUD operations properly, and the insights is being driven by this Power BI report. So we saw that we can go ahead and log a new information, we can delete a new information. Let me go ahead and see, suppose if there is a change in requirement. Now I do not want this to be in California. This requirement has moved to Redmond, Seattle, and the number of positions has probably decreased to 1. I can go ahead and make those changes. So keep a note on this. Make those changes. See, it has changed all this stuff. So we can go ahead and modify. The idea is at real time, this guy goes ahead and updates the relevant information so that the underlying teams are aware what are the changes. So this is so as you can say, a brief about the application. So this talks about, as I said, that this is mostly a architecture layer with three-tier architecture, and this is how it talks. And the next phase of this would be to create a web UI in which I would be integrating with Azure authentication, and then allowing role-based access, that who will be able to do this CRUD. And phase 2 would not, so this is already thread safe. That means you can have multiple users doing the same thing at the same time. And the phase 2 would be how to integrate the profile part of it. As you can see, there is a requirement here. So what are the profiles which has been submitted for it, so that we can tap into that old pool and figure out if they are available, position them for new requirements with the exact same nature. So that is the second phase of it. So hope you liked it. This was a real-time business problem that I wanted to address, and let me know what you think. Thanks a lot.